Hello, everyone. You all are catching me on Saturday. I'm still trying to get this lighting down. I don't have one of those cool lights, so I'm like turning on all the lights and stuff like that. Um, I just want to talk about why you don't need closure, why I don't think you need closure. So I may infuse some story times or just a little bit about my experiences. But like most people, not most people, but like some people, I thought that there was sort of a way to end relationships or just a way, at least for me, to give closure as far as like one final meeting, maybe one last time to be intimate, or maybe you want to exchange, give things back. But as I've gotten older, I've had two like long-term relationships. One's my son's father, which was a long period of time. But I count that, but I don't count that in a sense that we were growing. We were together when you're developing into who you're going to be as an adult. My ex fiance is probably really impacted the way I think about things, and even the research thereafter is kind of what's changed my opinion about this. Because with my son's father, of course, we had a child together, so that was completely different. But hey, we had many sort of closing arguments or closing talks to try to like help us move forward. And it is also the type of people we are. We're kind of, I think we touchy feely empaths. We're very sensitive to our feelings and things like that. So it just helped the both of us that we could kind of say we've exhausted everything we can in this relationship, and it's just we have to move forward. And for that relationship, it was really good for us. And I even had to, for me, I had to give him his things like gifts. I had to give him everything back but our son. And that goes into any Christians out here who've heard of like soul ties. I was trying to do everything so I could move forward and give the next person my all without any baggage. Because I had a really difficult time, a challenging time moving forward. Even though my head knew it was the right thing to do, my heart was struggling. So let's go into why I think maybe you may feel like you need closure. Again, it can go back to the type of person you are. You're a good guy, a good gal. You just feel like that's the thing to do after spending X amount of time with someone. That's a reasonable thing. That's a logical. That's a feeling sensitive way. Is to let that person know that you cherish all of the things, but it's just not going to work out. And for whatever reason, that makes people like me and you, it feels good. And maybe you have any questions, especially if there was some sort of infidelity, or if there were some sort of other issues, you may be able to, you feel that's an opportunity to get your questions answered. I love doing the X on this channel. And wrong. I think I'm going to recommend me. I'm going to recommend that people, if you feel like you are a person that you need closure, I think it depends. If you're with someone who this person, there's no sort of manipulation, you don't think there was any sort of maliciousness, or maybe but I think for me, as a rule moving forward, if I determine or we determine that things are not working out, I don't need closure. I'm going to tell you why. There were several times in a relationship with my ex fiance where I shouldn't have. It shouldn't have lasted this long. Now, because it did, I'm able to give someone out there some tips so they don't fall in the traps I did. So hopefully I can help someone with my mishaps in bad decision making or poor decision making. I don't know if you all listened to my other videos, when my ex fiance had moved to Northern Virginia right before a few months before he got stationed to Hawaii. I told you his girlfriend came over, the cops were called, and things like that. I did break up with him after that, because at that point I was like, there's too much foolishness. Like, I don't like that. And so he came over he had gifted me with a lot of books, and that was one thing I really enjoyed about him. He was an avid reader. And there's a whole thing about that too. He was an avid reader. He had gifted me with all these books. So I was like, here, if you want to take your books back, or He'd also gifted me with like I was at the time I was doing kung fu, and I was just about to do P90X, and I needed a chin up bar. So he had gifted me with that, or said you can borrow mine. So I was like, hey, here's your things. So that meeting when he came over, and I think about it, I was ready. I kind of, because I was used to my son's father, how we ended our relationship with dignity, right? He came over, and I was just like, I was sad because I just thought, this is my husband. And I was okay though. He left, and I was like, here's your stuff. And, I wish, at that point, I was like, I wish you well. Um, and then that was fine. When he left, I was crying, but he knocked back on the door, and he's like, I really want to make it work. I really want to work it out with you. What do I need to do? And that's when I should have cut it off then and never have allowed him back in. Because at that point, you have to do conditions with people where you got to check their phone, you got to, where are you? You can't do this, you can't do that. I didn't really understand, like, you shouldn't have to do any of that stuff. That stuff should be agreed upon. For instance, the person that he was with when he was in DC, he was in a lot of relationships, but he said he was with someone for 5 years. I'm like, well, you were in DC for 5 years. How can you be with someone and you have all these other relationships? He's like, oh yeah, we were going back and forth. That again, that should have been a sign. But I allowed him to sort of explain his way and say, yeah, I'm not going to do this, no contact, whatever you need to do to make you feel comfortable. He did not live up to any of that. It was all lip service. So again, if you're dealing with someone who's a manipulator or some sort of emotional, verbal abuse, or even physical abuse, that's a whole nother topic. Like, you do not need to, and what I mean by closure, people wanting to meet physically to talk to a person to kind of, you're not getting back together. Why do you need to do that? So that was the first mistake. The second mistake is we broke up after he told me he cheated when we went to the quaint little restaurant in Reisterstown. I allowed him to meet up again. And again, I had just watched this video by Juanita Byam. A friend of mine from work gave me this DVD, No More Sheets, and that thing had changed my life. I'm like, okay, I'm going into my period of singleness, and I had just started that church. I was like, let me just get in my relationship with God like I'm doing now. But we ended up meeting up, and we met up, and we exchanged keys. I had started talking to that guy from eHarmony who was like a Christian, celibate, all the things that I want now. And he's like, no, we met up to exchange our keys and stuff like that. So I say for you, there's no point, because there's a reason why you all got to the point where you're broken up. And I would say this is for any type of relationship about needing closure with. Say this is for any other relationship. For instance, recently I received a letter from my father, who I haven't talked to in almost 20 years. And I don't really have fond memories of him growing up. And that's a whole situation in itself. But of course, arguably maybe I have daddy issues, or that have manifested itself into probably what I was saying, stay away from men, stay away from, that could have been a reason or a reason. And I've suppressed it over the years, but that really caused an emotional, just need for me, the emotional dam to sort of break when I received that letter. And, I've been praying about it. I've been listening to scriptures. I've been talking to God and just trying to figure out, what I'm going to do. And I've come to the conclusion, of course, I'll reach out, and if he needs a kidney or some bone marrow for my son and I, and we can still stay alive, it's very odd. Of course we'll do it. And if, he didn't say anything about asking for forgiveness, but I already forgive him. But I don't, at this point, the rate I was going in life, I didn't need any type of closure with that relationship. It was, a person does not want you in their life. It's the person who fathered you. And again, have I cried, and when I'm in a mood of melancholy or depression, thought about, man, I wish I had a dad. I didn't have a dad to read these men in my life to riot, or to give me advice, or show me how to do this, that, other, but it didn't stay long. It was like, this is reality. So, like I said, you don't, in a non-romantic relationship as well, you don't need closure. Now, if you are a Christian, And this is, if you notice my channel, sort of kind of geared toward, or hopefully it speaks to a lot of Christians and our struggles, because we have struggles, is that you can find it in your heart to forgive people. Now, forgiveness does not mean that you allow them back into your personal space and you can resume the relationship as it was. It means that you're at peace, and you do not need to meet up in person with them to forgive them. So one of the main reasons why I don't think you need closure, I think, like I said before, in a lot of my videos, if you all haven't, it's a theme, and it's just, like I said, the research and the stories of, people not being able to accept that things are over or where the relationship is gone, and it goes to harming, killing, maiming, or killing the kids, killing the pets. It's like, it's a really, you really just don't know what type of person you're with, especially if you're getting into a relationship and you're not asking those serious questions. And, I just think it can be dangerous. So going back to the end of my relationship with my ex-fiance, there was a situation with $700. Is this the time to talk about it? Probably not. There was a situation with $700, and he was like, I'm going to pay you back your money or what have you, and let's meet up at the mall. That's like kind of near Fort Meade. And I'm like, no, you put me through so much in this relationship, and sometimes I put myself by staying, so I made a choice to stay. If you just want to do the right thing, there's no conditions with it. You just do the right thing. And he was like, well, if you don't meet in person, then I'm not going to give you the money. And I was just like, listen, my bank account. I gave you my bank information, my bank account number. You could just deposit the money. You do not need me to meet in person. Like I said, he would always threaten to disfigure me or to burn me. And I feel, even to this day, that second time I broke up with him, he didn't get back with me. He got back with me because I said I met some guy, and I was really happy. I was kind of at peace. And I wasn't putting it in his face, but I had considered him a friend. I was going back with my relationship with my son's father, how we are. When my son's father and I broke up, he got into a relationship with someone very quickly, like 2 or 3 months. And I was so angry. We went to parenting counseling, which that was a godsend. And it was a lot of things changing. And one of the main things was his religion. And I never wanted to talk about it. And to this day, I never really talked about it with him. But it really hurt me. It really, really, really hurt me. And at that point, I didn't even know why. Now that I'm an adult, I know why it hurt me. If anyone should be in heaven, it should be my son's father. He's like one of the best people I know. Like, we argue, we have a different philosophical view about life and things. He's just really a good person, and his family, they're like good people. So it's hard, now that I know why it hurt me so much. It's like, he had changed my life so much that it just hurt my soul. It was like more than a romantic relationship. It's like, I want him to be in heaven, Anyways, so how I kept going back to that way we were with each other, like very delicate. So when he told me he was seeing someone, it hurt my feelings. Of course he moved on before I did, just whatever. But I wanted him to be happy. And one of the first questions I asked him, and he didn't marry her, but I said, does she believe in God? Is she a Christian? And he said, yeah. I said, you should go to church with her. And that sort of shows you where we were. Even though we could call each other's names and we were arguing, at the end of the day, even to this day, we always want each other to be happy. When I told him I started my part-time keto coaching business, he was so proud of me. And just before he took our son overseas this summer, he was like, you're doing good, keep it up with the weight loss and everything. It was just, again, we don't get into, we're cordial and we're friendly, we're not friends, but it's just like always wanting that person to have the best in life. We don't overthink it. I don't sit and think about it, but he doesn't think about it with me, but just that genuine. So I assumed, what's the word, the first 3 letters of assumptions, I assumed that that's how people operated in relationships. Don't make that assumption, because you could be meeting up with someone that has a personality disorder, they're mentally ill, so their norm is chaos and confusion. It's just it's not worth it. And they're willing to harm you and harm your kids and your parents. I mean, it's just the list goes on. So those are my sort of reasons. I don't have one, two, three, but just, be careful. Like, you do not need to meet up with a person for closure. It's all about you. Closure starts with you. And you have to figure out, how can I move forward without having a one-on-one meeting with someone. And people, they may not even answer your questions. I remember when my ex fiance, I tried to get questions, answer like, why would you do this? And it just ended up, he turned it around on me, made it seem like it was my fault, he cheated. And I didn't it didn't satisfy me. It made me more frustrated than anything. And again, I'm going to go into what the disorders that I think he had. And that was, that's a whole nother story. But I just want to tell you, you don't need closure. You need to, figure out how you can move forward and turn the tables on you. What do I like? And I would suggest you guys write a list. When you're in a relationship, relationships should be reciprocal. It's a give and take. And it's it's a yin and yang that's going on. And it doesn't mean that if, you're keeping points, but everybody should be pouring into a relationship and everyone should be getting something out of the relationship. It's a bank, right? And sometimes, for instance, I don't feel like I've been the best friend to my best friend or to my friends, a few friends I do have. I don't feel like I've been the best friend. I could arguably say since I got pregnant, but definitely in the last few years since my relationship, since I came out of my depression. And I'm sort of coming out the last 2 years, but I pray that I had deposited so much from the genesis of our relationship that they're not going to just drop me. They're going to say, you know what? She held me down for this period. And you know what I mean? So even though either she's withdrawing more than she's depositing right now, or whatever the case may be, like, I know when she comes to herself, like, she got me or whatever, or those moments when I really need her, she's going to be there. So that's what I mean by reciprocal. So when you're in a relationship, you keep thinking about the person, they really hurt you, you're in your feelings. That is normal. But I will get into another video about no contact and how to do that. You have to turn the tables around and think about your health and well-being. Anyone that loves you, they're not going to want you to be in that type of state or whatever. And again, I'm not putting my son's father on no type of pedestal at all, but I love the way he is and his family, how they are, because they're very sensitive people. So even though things didn't end up the way we all thought they would end up, they thought we would get married or anything like that, even the way they treated me as, just being, just being a baby mama or whatever, they always treated me with respect. They're like, you have our grandson, whatever you need, it's going to be okay. Like, you're going to get through this. You can do it. They're always like everybody. And I'm always like that way with them. If they ever need anything, it's like all love. Like, life sometimes don't work out the way you think it's going to be. Doesn't mean it's not going to be a wonderful life type of thing. So we can't make that assumption that you meet with person Y and they kind of think the same thing. And there are a lot of signs. I just should have went on my signs video. These are like divine signs. But if anyone's ever watched the movie Why Did I Get Married and Why Did I Get Married Too, I remember watching that with my ex-fiance. And I'm not trying to make him out to be a devil. Maybe someone likes that type. But these are the things that I didn't pick up on. And it may seem very slight to some people. But the character of Jill Scott, her character, her husband, and how he was, and even in the second movie she basically went back to try to get her husband a job. My ex really liked him. He liked his character. And I was like, why would you like that? Like, he talked about her weight and was very nasty to her. He had his mistress there at their getaway, and he was just like, he. And I was just like, she's like, he got the power, and she had to come back to him for money. And she, she'll be doing more than just, making sure my, because he had cancer in the second movie. So I was just like, the Malik Yoba character, or I think that's his Yoba. He played in the New York Undercover movie. That was that was Janice Jackson. Sorry guys, but anyways, but stuff like that. I was like, why would you? I'm not saying I love Loki. He's a villain, but he's a lovable villain. So I'm not trying to, but it's like when somebody likes Thanos or when they like, I don't know, just come on, like you should kind of say, well, okay, again, don't you should be adding clues together, not just that one piece of evidence. But for me, because I had seen so much thus far, I should have been like, why would I should have really like we should have talked about that. Anyways, I hope this helps someone. You don't need closure. Find out what you're passionate about, what your purpose is, what you love to do, especially for my young ladies out there. God has purposed you. You're a life giver, you're a nurturer, and sometimes it's for you to take your attention off for men and um, whoever you're attracted to, and to really think about your life and the value you add to the universal, like this to life, to the world. So I hope this helped, and I will see you guys around. Sorry for the lighting. It'll be what it is.